Welcome back to the Daily Bread Bible Study. We are again looking at the book of Judges, this time chapters 4 through 5, for day 73, Friday, March 13th, 2020. So we get to hear some of the judges, as they're called in this book of Judges, basically the heroes of the Israelite people, there as they are trying to root out the inhabitants of the dispossessed people of the land of Canaan, as they feel God has called them to dispossess them of the land. So in Judges chapter 4, we see that again the Israelites fall back into the pattern of worshiping other gods. Judges 4:1, the Israelites again did what was evil in the sight of the Lord after Ehud died. Those 80 years of peace lasted and they forgot God. And picking up in verse 2, so the Lord sold them into the hand of King Jabin of Canaan, who reigned in Hazor. The commander of his army was Sisera. This time of cruel oppression was 20 years long, up from 18 years mentioned last time in both of the different accounts. Deborah and then Barak are mentioned in the heading of the section, yet it's another who will be the actual hands and feet of God's deliverance. Deborah, who is reported to have been judging Israel, hears of the struggles that King Jabin has been making up north, and she calls Barak, who travels over 100+ miles to meet her. She asks Barak to assemble troops who will go under one condition. Deborah needs to go with them on the 100+ mile return trip. They want Deborah to be a strong leader there with them, so Deborah and Barak set off. She says in Judges 4:9, I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, the road on which you are going will not lead you to glory, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hands of a woman. So we will see that foreshadowing of what is to come. Now, your mind might jump to say, well, is that going to be Deborah? Deborah is going with them. Deborah is going to fight with the army and the forces. Is Deborah going to be the one who brings them victory and overcomes this army? And in fact, it is not. We will see that it is another hero who will come forward, who's not mentioned as a judge at all. So part of this is the connections of Hobab, or Jethro, as he's called in previous portions of the Bible. Remember, Moses' father-in-law, who is the priest of Midian, will offer a hand to stop Sisera. So descendants of Hobab and connections, specifically someone who married into the group, will help with that plan. Deborah encourages Barak in Judges 4:14. Then Deborah said to Barak, up, for this day is the day on which the Lord has given Sisera into your hand. The Lord is indeed going out before you. So Barak's army defeats Sisera's, and then the desperate commander Sisera seeks refuge among Hobab's descendants. So that's where the connection there, and why I bring that up. We remember that the Hobab's descendants, part of them went to live with the Amorites, and so the Amorites and the Amalekites, fighting with the people of Israel. It just was kind of rough, but anyways, a woman named Jael, wife of Heber the Canaanite, which basically means descendant of Jethro, meets Sisera and invites him to take refuge in her tent. And while he is asleep, she does something drastic. She kills him. Judges 4:21 says, Jael, wife of Heber, took a tent peg, took a hammer on her hand, and went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple until he went down into the ground. He was lying fast asleep from weariness and died. The main message of the story is less about violence, I think, and more about God's deliverance. Judges 4:23 sums it up. So on the day God subdued King Jabin of Canaan before the Israelites. So on that day, God acted and subdued. God finds many ways to deliver God's people, and this is not quite what we expected. We thought it would be through Deborah and Barak, but in a lot of ways, they bring the army, they fight, but it was this Jael who bravely and cunningly provides them with God's deliverance against Sisera. Judges 5 is poetry, and as it kind of references, likely songs. A song describing the events of King Jabin's forces. In verses 6 through 7, we have references to Shamgar, Jael, and Deborah as strong figures of God's deliverance, saying, In the days of Shamgar, son of Amnath, in the days of Jael, caravans ceased and travelers kept to the byways. The peasantry prospered in Israel, and they grew fat on plunder, because you arose, Deborah, arose as a mother in Israel. So, giving thanks to God for all of the work done through these individuals. And then another thing is referenced, the call to go to Deborah. I'm sure was kind of also a call for their brothers and sisters, the other tribes, to come deliver Barak and all of them there too up north. So we have a note of some of the tribes that came to fight. Ephraim came to fight. Benjamin sent representatives. Manasseh and Zebulun, Issachar and Naphtali, being up there already, came to fight with their brethren as well. Reuben was noted as not coming. Dan, not going to show up. Asher did not send a representative. And it's interesting that a couple were not mentioned. The tribe of Simeon's not mentioned. Judah's not mentioned. And Levi is not mentioned, but that's probably for good reason. The tribe of Levi, designated by Moses not to be fighters, but to be attendants in the priestly functions of the tabernacle and the tribes. So, anyways, another thing of note about the song is it sounds like the battle against Sisera, that like the Exodus battle at the Red Sea or the Reed Sea, God apparently sends rain and water to sweep away God's enemies, as it says in Judges 5:21. The torrent Kishon swept them away. The onrushing torrent, the torrent Kishon. March on, my soul, with might. And understandably, there's also lyrics appreciating the work of Jael, the one whose hands, physically delivered them from Sisera, calling her the most blessed of women, be Jael. And so she's not even an Israelite here. She is, they're connected with the descendants of Jethro. So, anyways, Judges 5:31 wraps up this section and this song, and it says, So perish all your enemies, O Lord, but may your friends be like the sun as it rises in its might. And the land had rest 40 years. That's all we have for today. I hope you are able to find rest from any challenging foes or obstacles that are in your way. May God strengthen you for the journey, and I look forward to seeing you again.